Half a year passed after President Park passed away, but our society was still in turmoil. University students and citizens all over the country came out to the streets. They started a struggle for democracy. One day, I looked down at Seoul Station across from the high-rise building. Seoul Station Square was filled with numerous university students and demonstrators headed towards Namdaemun. The demonstrators broke through the police cordon and set fire to the riot police bus. I felt sorry for the scene. I was not a coward who didn't know justice, and I was not a young man who was indifferent to social issues. But I didn't like fighting. As the Korean War showed, fighting was not the right solution. The protests continued to spread, and eventually, the May 18th Gwangju incident took place. Martial law was proclaimed through the country. Also, my university was closed and a tank stood guard at the main gate. I had the wedding while the university was closed, and I had to report the wedding to the police in advance. It was a time when they used to get together on the pretext of a wedding and do a demonstration for the government. On my honeymoon, some friends followed me to Gimpo Airport. After saying goodbye to my friends, we headed for the boarding gate. Before I passed the gate, the censor checked women's and men's belongings separately. The inspector checked my resident registration card, and he said that I could not get on the plane. At that time, an administrator in the army punched the top of the resident registration cards, tied them with a string, and returned them when the soldiers were discharged. But the inspector said I couldn't get through with a hole in my resident registration card. I even showed my military handbook by saying the staff at the town office told me to use it, but the inspector shouted angrily, "Men like you can't pass even if you bring the president's certificate." It was a terrible accident to happen on my honeymoon, but I couldn't complain anywhere. With the whole country in martial law, the police didn't overlook such a trifle. I had to give up my plan to travel to the south coast via Busan. I went to Seoul Station and barely managed to catch the train bound for Gumi, Gyeongsukbukdo. I didn't even have a seat to sit on, so I sat with a newspaper spread out in the back of the seats. I ate kimbap, rice rolled in a sheet of seaweed that Miss Kim's friend gave us. Miss Kim looked as if she were happy anywhere with me. However, from the start of my marriage, I was very unhappy with the inconveniences. We had to be satisfied to travel to Gyeongju, Busan, Gimcheon, and Gumi. Unfortunately, we came back to Seoul without traveling in Jeolledo because of strict watch. In front of the main gate of each university, martial law soldiers camped out with armored cars. Some students asked me to join the demonstration. I said I couldn't come forward. I went to work during the day and to school in the evening with a heavy heart. I didn't have a proper campus life. I talked about my future and discussed human life with my classmates by drinking tea or beer at night after class. On such a day, I didn't come home until about 1 o'clock at night. My wife lingered in the alley until that time. She didn't complain even though she must have been tired. She also went to work at an import agency after marriage. "Don't you regret being married?" My wife shook her head and took my bag. In winter, my second brother took a preliminary exam for college. The results of the exam were announced. After another year of studying, he scored high. I was very happy that my brother seemed to do what I couldn't achieve. He entered a prestigious engineering college. I was so proud to have a prestigious university student in my family. By the way, since there were 2 college students in my family, the tuition burden was high. My wife went to work, but she couldn't keep working because of the difficulty of running the company. I had no choice but to get a scholarship. My major in college was easy. The knowledge I learned at commercial high school was helpful. There were 5 high school alumni in my class. It wasn't a big university, but there were 50 of my high school alumni there. A high school friend in the university already passed the high civil service examination and was waiting for the training. I envied my friend who quit the bank and prepared for the higher civil service examination. During lunchtime, I used to go to the hill at the back of the building with an assistant manager of the bank, and we studied together. On Sundays, I studied at the library of the college near my house. Even though I thought the classes taught at university were not helpful for my future job, I studied to get good grades. I always had an unsatisfied and depressed feeling because I couldn't study properly. Yet, as a result of my efforts to study, I was able to win a scholarship every semester. However, the treatment of me within the company was not so good. Most of the employees in the company were from top universities. Also, there were many sons and daughters of high officials and military generals among the staff. The company was high class and most of the employees were high class too. The environment in the company greatly invigorated me, so I dreamed bigger. I just didn't want to get a college diploma. I wanted to study abroad and become a university professor. Not only did I want to succeed quickly and make my family happy, but I also wanted to create a happy society for everyone. I dreamed of the day when I bought a car and went on a trip with my parents. Studying was the only way for a man without money to be able to succeed. Being a government official through the higher civil service exam is a way to raise one's status in a single day. So those with the intent of passing the exam came to the study village for the civil service exam. After a few days of thought, I submitted my resignation to the section chief without any means of livelihood as the head of family. I know your family circumstances. What are you going to do if you retire from the company? The resignation was given back to me, and that evening the section chief arranged to have a dinner with the staff to encourage me to stay. We played billiards after dinner. It was my first billiards game, but I had to put in a 3 cushion to win. As one of my colleagues told me, I grabbed the cue and pushed a white billiard ball. Unexpectedly, I succeeded in the 3 cushion. It was a situation when a man has little knowledge but earns a big result. Everyone was happy. I was the main character of the evening. After I broke away from my colleagues, I felt heavy walking the hill to my house. I felt the weight of my resignation letter in the inside pocket of my suit. I would not have to go to work, but I did not have the courage to do so. I'd rather have someone push me out of the company. In an early winter afternoon, my son was born in the General Hospital in Ilgiro, Seoul. Thanks to the company's support for medical care, my wife was able to give birth at the General Hospital. I was informed that my wife went to the hospital, but I couldn't leave work early because of what I had to do. I felt pressure to be a father who could provide for a new life. I still wanted to show my colleagues that I was doing my job thoroughly. My wife felt disappointed for a long time over my belated appearance at the hospital.